Well, how are you doing, everybody? Hope you are all safe and well. Over the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've been getting asked to produce podcasts, and they're just basically, obviously, it's just a way that lots of people can just check in and find out what I've been up to over the last few weeks. It's obvious that there are lots and lots of you that aren't on social media, you're not on Facebook, and so you miss out on lots of the match results that we're competing in all over the country and all over Europe in some cases. And so I thought it was about time that I started these monthly check-ins with you. So whilst this is a podcast, it's very much audio based, as you can imagine. I'm actually at Lindholm Lakes today. I'm working on 2 or 3 different projects, but I've just taken a bit of time out just to have a check-in with you to let you know what I and what we have been up to over the last 4 or 5 weeks. We're obviously just getting into, well, it's obviously November, we're getting into winter now, you could probably tell with the scenery. The lake that I'm on now is Laurels. This is peg 7. I don't know if this peg's actually you're normally in. As you can see, it's in a corner. I don't know if they normally peg it in matches. But this is one of the venues where I've been spending a bit of time, and I will be spending more time here through the winter. Lindholm Lakes is a fantastic fishery, really. You know, there's several different lakes here. And I'm actually competing in 2 winter leagues here this year, and one of them has started already. We've had round 1, and yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was going to come and spend a bit of time here, you know, do a bit of filming for you, just to get into the kind of rhythm and a feel for it now that we're getting into winter, for the types of fishing that we're going to be faced with. But to be absolutely honest with you, this year they've actually ran the first, I think it's the first ever, Bomb and Feeder Festival. It was a 3-dayer, and that was right here. This was actually one of the lakes. I was actually on this lake on the final day. It was a 3-day competition, so the final day I actually drew on here, and lots of you have already seen the live match film from that. So I didn't actually film the first 2 days because I just wanted to focus on the fishing. Obviously, when you're out filming all week, when you do actually have a match that you're really enthusiastic and eager to do well in, the last thing you really want to be doing is getting all the camera gear out and trying to film it, because, you know, I've got to be absolutely honest with you. I've been absolutely honest with lots of my members on the membership channel when we're talking about live streams, our monthly live streams, that, you know, when I'm filming a live match, to be quite honest with you, it probably takes, depending on the situation, depending on the venue and the conditions, sometimes it could be taking up to 30%, sometimes 40% of your day, of your time and your head, thinking about the filming. You know, is the camera in the right position? Are the batteries working? Are the SD cards all right? You know, and if it's a slow match, you know, there are some matches where I've just gone and done something random, and it's not because I've done that just to try and catch some extra fish. I've done it to add a little bit of interest to the video for you, you know, and so that's why lots of the live matches I've been producing recently, I have specifically gone out to film a live match for you. So, you know, there are times when I've been catching in those matches when I've literally had to put the rod down or put the pole down to get off my box to go and change a battery in the camera or something like that, you know. But that's what it is, you know. That's my that's where I want to build this channel even more, and I know how much everybody loves the live matches. So because of that festival, we've got quite a few planes going up today. Some days you don't get any at all, but there are quite a few going up, so apologies for that. But I fished the 3-dayer here, and it was really interesting to see the you know, the types of fishing. And but, you know, when I'm saying that, one of the things that you've got here is that if you're going to come here and practice for a match, for example, it's not very easy in the sense that you could be drawing on one of 5 lakes, you know, and it's something that we see on lots of venues up and down the country. It's something that I get asked a lot about, you know, people that are eager to do well in a league or a match, and they want to go and practice for it, but there might be a chance that they could be on one of 3 lakes, you know, and just like this venue, every lake's different, you know, completely different. The stocking levels are different, there might be different species, different methods, so it can be difficult to do that. So just like last winter, that was the first year I'd fished the Winter League here at Lindholm, and, you know, I came here just to learn, basically, to try and learn the venue. You're obviously going up against some very, very good anglers, but you're also up against some very good anglers what know the venue very, very well, and they've been coming here for years. So, you know, that was something that I was very, very aware of, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've got to admit that whilst, you know, obviously I have access to lots and lots of different tackle, you know, I'm in a very fortunate position, I've got to admit that through winter and that particular winter league, I absolutely loved the fact that it was so simple. Now, I don't mean the actual getting your head around the fishing. I just meant the prep side of it and the actual fishing. I actually set up 3 rods for the whole series, for the whole league. You know, I set an 11-foot commercial pro up. That was for the method feeder. I also had an XRC, a Matrix XRC 9-foot bomb rod set up. That was for fishing the bomb, obviously. And then I had a 12-foot rod, the Horizon the Horizon Distance Pro Distance, and that was basically a 12-foot. That was for if I drew on Loco, which is the lake at the back, where you can have casts of up to 45 metres, maybe even 50 metres, depending on, you know, whether I drew that lake or not. And that was it. I could just set those up, and they were set up for the full league. And it was just so simple, the prep side of it. You know, the night before each match, it was all about carp. It's all about F1s. You know, I think there was one match where it wasn't about that. It was just so simple because the night before, you know, I could literally say, right, it's 9 o'clock or whatever. I'll just go into where my tattle is, a bag of fishery pellets, a tin of sweet corn, my wafters, a tub of wafters, and that was about it. That was all I had to do. I don't think on most occasions I had any ground bait mixed, and that was it. It was just so refreshing. And because it was bomb and feeder only, it was just so much more relaxed. You were drawing in the cafe, which is just behind me, drawing there, and within probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you're set up. Everything's set up because the 3 rods were already set up in my bag. You'd soaked your pellets. It was just so relaxed. And obviously, as you can expect in winter, the conditions weren't always favourable. I mean, it's a bit breezy today, but when the conditions were bad, because you were fishing with a bomb, because you were fishing with a method feeder, they're self-hooking ways of fishing. So you could literally, once you've cast out, put the rod down, and you could just sit there with your hands in your pockets, drinking your coffee, just waiting, because when the rod went, the fish was on. You know, and that was just such a refreshing change from when we're fishing all these other venues through the summer, where you know, you've got the rod on your knee and you're trying to catch lots of these little fish, and you know, you're looking and staring at your tip for every signal indication. It was just such a refreshing change, and so that's why I'm back again this winter. The first round was last week, and that wasn't filmed as a live match. And to be honest, I didn't really know what to make of my draw. Now, the key thing for this league is that it's based on weight, cumulative weight over, I think it's 8 rounds, and so your total weight. And so obviously there's always going to be an element of luck, always, because even if you draw and do really well on your lake, you may even win your lake. If other lakes have fished better, then you can be a little bit unfortunate, and vice versa. You could be the other way. You know, there is, for example, there were 1 or 2 anglers that caught 70-80 pound in the first round and didn't win anything because they'd been beat by bigger weights. However, those weights, 60-70 pound, on other lakes, some of the lakes were getting one with 50 pound. I think our lake was one with 75 pound. So there's always going to be an element of luck there, you know. And the best thing, you know, that I always say to anybody that ever asks me about it is, all you can do is just fish your peg. Fish your peg and get as much out of it as you possibly can. The rest is out of your hands, you know. It's easy to beat yourself up about the draw, but it's literally out of your hands, you know. When you put your hand in that bag, there's nothing you can do about that. So I drew on Bonsai. I drew peg 63, I think it was. And it was an interesting match. Very, very slow to get going, very slow. They'd pegged it so that there was loads and loads of room. And as you probably know, you know, that doesn't always work in your favour, particularly in winter. I mean, I've spoken to, you know, some of the best F1 anglers in the country, and they deliberately stay away from certain F1 venues in winter because the fish have just got so much room and they can just back off out the way and you can't catch them. Simple as that, you know. And so leaving gaps doesn't always benefit. However, sometimes it really helps. But we had loads of room, but it took me ages to find my feet. It took me ages because I just couldn't get a run of fish together. But to cut a long story short, I dotted about. I had 2 islands to cast to if I wished. We've got loads of room. There's lots of islands on Bonsai, and it was a case of just looking for the fish. And eventually I found some to the point of one of the islands on the method feeder in the last 90 minutes or so. And I had a really steady finish. You know, I had to fish most casts in the last 90 minutes. Sometimes I had to wait for bites, but I managed to catch, and I ended up with 70 pound, which, you know, it was quite a bit more than what I thought I'd got, to be fair. I had quite a few F1s, but I did have some carp as well, those sorts of kind of three pounders, which made a huge difference. So it was a nice steady start. £75 won the lake. I was second on the lake. I won my section with £70. So it was a steady start. However, Strip Lake and one or two of the other lakes did fish better. And so out of the 60 anglers, because it's a very popular league again, I think it's 60 or just under 58, something like that. That has put me in, I think I'm in about 7th place with that. So that keeps me right in it going into round 2. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be another, enjoyable and successful winter league. That one I'm really looking forward to the next rounds, particularly when it starts to get a bit colder. And then this Saturday I am fishing here again, but it's the Pairs League. I'm actually fishing that with Gareth Dawson. I haven't seen him since last winter, but that's going to be good. I think there are 29 pairs on that. It's a sellout, so that's going to be really interesting. Again, on the same sort of lake, so expecting the fishing to be the same. And I believe that is on cumulative weight as well. Lots of people ask me about my opinions on cumulative weight competitions. I think, generally section points, usually when you have competitions based on section points, in my experience, generally that favours the better anglers, or the anglers that know the venue better, because even if they're not getting great weights, they're always kind of doing well in the section. However, with a weight competition, it can be pretty much wide open, because even if you're not doing very well going into the final 2 or 3 rounds, you only need a couple of good draws, and that can get you right back up that leaderboard. So in the interest of a competition, of keeping it open for more people and keeping it alive for more people, I think the weight-based competitions, in my opinion, are just better for the competition. It keeps it alive longer for more people, because what can happen is on points competitions, if people have dropped out of it, with 2 or 3 rounds to go, they haven't got a chance of winning it, they can quite easily just not bother turning up, so that's when attendances suffer. You end up with gaps everywhere because people haven't turned up, and nobody really wants that, do you? We want to enjoy the competition as well as obviously do well in it as well. So yeah, I'm going to be here quite a bit through the winter, and I've been enjoying it. It's the other thing for me as well, it's literally about 40 miles away from where I live, and that's something I've really focused on this winter, just like I did last winter, is just kind of cut down on the mileage a little bit. Lots of the venues that we fish, I'm based up in Sheffield in South Yorkshire, and lots of the venues, it's particularly in the Midlands, it's 100 miles there to the venue, and 100 miles back every time, and we do a lot of that through the summer. So in winter it's just nice to kind of cut down on the mileage a little bit. And cutting down on the mileage leads me into the next competition that we've been taking part in, and that's a brand new competition for this year. It's called the Guru Feeder Cup. And as the name suggests, it is a feeder competition. It's a brand new competition, and at the time of filming there are still tickets available for the qualifiers. Now all the qualifiers and the final take place at a venue again that's local to me, is Langold Lake. Now it really is a nice venue. However, I just haven't fished a match there for about 9 or 10 years. So back then you hadn't got all these feeder competitions taking place everywhere. So that was when I decided to specialise on feeder fishing, or focus on feeder fishing, because I wanted to do my very, very best to break into the England feeder team at some stage. That was my goal at the time. And so I was looking for feeder orientated venues and matches. And to be fair, there was only really one that was anywhere near me that was all about feeder fishing, and that was, now it's a lot more popular now, it's Salfield Reservoir. Now, like I say, I'm going back 10 years, and back then it wasn't Andy Renton and Mick Axon that were running the matches, it was Tony Tarff, he was running the matches there. But I've got to admit, at first it was like a bit of it felt like a secret society. I just couldn't get on the matches. Now, I don't know if it's because they just didn't want too many people on them, or I can't remember if it's because they weren't really advertised. I didn't know who was running them at the time. And so it was kind of springtime, and I wanted to fish the Spring League, but it was a sellout every year, and it has been since. It always sells out. I couldn't get on it. And the only place anywhere near me that had breamy type fishing or matches was Langold Lake. And so I fished 2 or 3 matches there, really enjoyed them, and it was great. But then after that, obviously over the course of the following year, I kind of got my feet established within the feeder kind of scene, and I managed to get onto the Salfield matches, and obviously that's where I fished for a few years after that. So I haven't been back to Langold since then, except for one coaching day. Stephen, if you're watching, thoroughly enjoyable day. I coached Stephen on there. We had a session on there, but that was it. And so I was really looking forward to just getting stuck into a new venue. Now the venue is it's a lake, as the name suggests, and we knew the fishing was going to be hard. We've had a lot of rain, and so the water was heavily coloured. But I managed to get about 5 or 6, I think it was, tickets for the qualifiers. Now I went on the first qualifier. I fished an open match just before that, just to kind of get a feel for the venue, and it was all about cage feeder fishing. There were 1 or 2 of the local anglers fishing with method feeders, fishing for better bream and carp. There are some carp in there, but because it's been fishing so hard, I just never felt like, I was going to go down that route. I just kind of felt like if I went there and focused on the cage feeder or focused on a conventional feeder, I just fish for bites, fish for roach, little skimmers, any bonus bream would have been welcome. I felt that kind of an approach with small hooks, light lines, fishing with braid, nice soft rods, weaker ground bait mixers, and a winter style approach, I felt that might be enough to be able to win the zone in order to qualify. And I went into the first match with that approach, but I drew a bit of a corner peg. It was the first peg up the ramp on the right hand side. I think it's 50, I'm not sure if it's 56, is it? Something like that. And it's a bit of a unique peg because you're in a corner, so you've got a left-hand bank that you can fish to. And to cut a long story short, I ended up second in the zone, so I just missed qualifying by a place. But that obviously gave me a bit of confidence in the mix and the way that I was fishing and that sort of thing. And I just hoped that on the second qualifier, I was going to draw a peg that was kind of a bit more uniform, And so, to cut a long story short, I drew peg 30, I think it was 36. I can't remember if it was 35 or 36. I think it was 36. And as it turned out, that was on the far bank, but on the end, up to the right hand side as you look at the lake. And so, with it being on an end, I felt really confident that, if it was a slow start, I just felt that as the day progressed, at some stage I would get a visit from some better fish. However, that didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. But what did happen was, by fishing very cautiously, I fished the usual braid setup. I'd got like an 11 foot slim. I don't know if it was a ½ ounce or 3/4 ounce tip in that, with braid, direct, nice little 3000 reel, fishing with little cage feeders, a nice F1 mix, I think it was, not F1 dark, with just pink ears, tiny bit of chopped worm, some maggots, and just fish for bites. Fished on 2 lines, kind of 12 metres and I think it was 25 metres. The bottom's not great there, I've got to be honest with you. The bottom, there's lots of it's like black dead weed on the bottom. And so the feeder choice on there, I think it's, obviously I've only fished, I fished 3 matches on there now. It's something that I think is very, very important. And that's why my long line wasn't past 25 metres. Now, that wasn't because I knew anything special about the peg. It was just that I felt that because the water was so heavily coloured, I just felt that you wouldn't need to go out far. But also, as you'd expect, the further out you go, the heavier the feeder you've got to use, so that's really going to hinder your presentation of it actually when it's down on the bottom. So that was in my mind, and so I fished 25 and 12, and I just ticked over nicely. I started getting bites from tiny little roach right from the off, and they were a problem for a lot of people, but I just ploughed through them. I tried to tweak a few things to try and single out better stamp fish, and when I say better stamp fish, at the moment they're skimmers in that sort of 3 to 4 ounce bracket, so they're obviously not big fish, but they're much better than those little tiny roach. And I tried to tweak a few things with the mix and bigger baits and that sort of thing to try and single out a better fish, but I couldn't do it. I've got to surrender and hold my hands up and say I just didn't do that. I didn't manage to do that, and I just had to keep ploughing on. I ended up with about 50 fish, and I expected 1 or 2 better stamp fish turning up later on, so I kept resting the line, nurturing it so that I could go on it later on, as the light started to fade. But it didn't happen. But what did happen was that instead of better stamp fish turning up, those little roach just stayed there. So whilst they were small fish, I was coming back with a fish every cast. Now, and I don't know why this was. Maybe it must be something to do with the presentation. And I know lots of you like these little details about matches. And one of the things that happened was that on my 12 metre line, I kept missing the odd bite, and you're going to do that, especially when the fish are literally only that size, ½ ounce. in some cases. You are going to miss bites, I expect, you know. But one of the things that I did notice is that when those small fish turned up on my 25 metre line, not the 12 metre line, so on the 12 metre line I missed the odd bites, not loads, but the odd bites, and I just accepted that. However, when I was fishing at 25 metres, when the fish turned up on that line, the same stamp fish, I never missed a bite. Now it must be something to do with the presentation. Maybe it's because I was fishing with braid direct, maybe I was just not hitting the bites correctly or reading them right on that short line. Maybe it's because I was 25 metres a bit further out. Maybe it's, I don't know the reason. But I never missed a bite at 25 metres. Which meant that yes, those little fish had turned up late on and they weren't the target. I was coming back with a fish every single cast. You know, sometimes you might wait a couple of minutes for a bite, but even when you got a little indication like that I may have missed on that short line, they were on that 25 metre line, even if I didn't pick up straight away on it. But it just meant that if I did leave it 2, 3, 4 minutes, expecting to might catch a skimmer or something, when I wound in, that initial indication the fish was on. So what happened was, in that last 30 minutes, I came back with a fish every single cast, which obviously made a huge difference. So I ended up, I was third in the match, and I ended up qualifying for the final, which is fantastic. You know, it's obviously always good to qualify for a final like that. I don't know what it is in the final this year. It's either £4,000 or £5,000 to the winner, but the final doesn't take place until March. So obviously there's going to be a hell of a lot to change between now and then. You know, the conditions and everything's going to be different. So I will be fishing the odd open match there, but I was a little bit gutted in the sense that I really wanted to film a live match there for you of one of those qualifiers, but because I've qualified so soon, I'm not going to get a chance to do that now because I've got to sell my tickets. So what I am going to do is I am going to film a live match there for you. I'm going to try and do one there for you where I'm not fishing at all, so I can walk around, show you the venue and just do a bit more of a polished live match for you of one of those qualifiers. So please let me know if you'd like me to do that. But what I can also do is go back there and fish an open match. There are open matches every weekend, so just go there, rock up and fish an open match and film that as a live match for you, because it is a venue I'd like to feature. And if you are interested in fishing those qualifiers, then obviously it will give you a bit of a taster for the venue and give you an idea about how it's fishing. So that was one of the main ones for this year that I really wanted to target. But like I say, it's great to put that one to bed and just have that final to look forward to in March. And then the other league that we're now into is Hallcroft. It's the Feeder Masters Winter Pairs that I'm fishing once again with Richard Vaughan. It's a fantastically ran league. You know, it's run by Lee Carey, Mick Viles at the Feeder Masters team, and you know, I've got to openly admit that, you know, I love everything about the event. You know, it's really well run, a fantastic standard of angler, lots of them are friends anyway. It's local to me, which again is a theme for my winter, isn't it? We've got plenty of planes going up now, haven't we? It's another local venue. It's probably 35 miles away from where I live. But I've got to admit, for the last 2 winters, I just haven't been able to get my head around the fishing. It's so frustrating. And we've fished one round of that already, that was last weekend. And I drew on bridge pull and Rich drew on moat. And this year we've had a bit of a mix change, so we're using a different ground bait from what we've used before and a couple of little tweaks, but we really wanted to put some time in on that venue, you know, put a bit of practice in this year because we've never ever done that. You know, we've never really had a chance to do it, and we wanted to go and just get a feel for it because lots of the anglers that are fishing that league are also fishing the Hallcroft teams of 4 as well. So some of them are literally there every Saturday and Sunday right the way through winter, and they're so on the ball, they're so in tune with it, you know, and we wanted to put some time in this year, but unfortunately, you know, Hallcroft was hit by flooding. You know, it was absolutely devastating what happened. To see when I saw the photographs, it's had, you know, it was all one lake. You know, the caravans and lodges there were flooded, and the fishery staff there and the people that live on site and the caravan and lodge owners, they've had an horrendous time over the last few weeks. But thankfully, you know, the lakes are back to normal level now, which means, hence, that's why the league could go ahead last week. They had some big pumps in there. They were pumping the water out back into the river to just obviously get rid of the water, to get the lakes down. And the fishery team had done a fantastic job just to get the lakes back to normal level. They had huge pumps there, pumping the water out, and then obviously when the water levels were back to where they should be, they then had to go around and obviously check all the bank sides, make sure they're safe, make sure all the platforms are safe. And it was a mammoth task for them, but incredibly they actually did it so that we could get the league back on. So massive thank you to them for that. But because of the flooding, that meant that, you know, we were unable to go there and put any time in on the venue, you know. So again, we ended up just going straight into round one and trying to wing it. And I had a really frustrating match, I've got to admit it. I had an incredible start. You know, I fed 2 of my lines at the start, and I've gone in and I've had a big skimmer first cast. Then I've gone in again and had another one second cast, an incredible start. I had probably nearly £3 in the net in the first 2 casts. But then obviously you'd expect it getting harder, and it did. And I just couldn't get to grips with the feeding. And even now I don't know if I fed too much or I didn't feed enough. I honestly do not know. I don't know, it's a complete mystery to me, I've got to admit, you know. And so whilst I had an incredible start, you know, right going 3/4 of the way into the match, you know, I was doing really, really well in the section. And then later on, some small roach have turned up, and I've just kind of kept putting them in the net. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have continued fishing for the bigger skimmers, because they were the ones that were going to make a difference. And that's what's been caught in the section. They've had some better skimmers. And so, you know, it was really disappointing, really. But, you know, it is a weight league again, you know, so it's a cumulative weight thing. So obviously, even if you are going to be a little bit behind the anglers around you at the end of the match, and which is unfortunately what happened for me, I still managed to catch £14. You know, it fished really, really well. The weights were fantastic, the best we've seen generally all around the complex, amazingly, after, you know, all the flooding what we've had there. So I ended up with £14 odd. Richard Vaughan won his section. It did absolutely amazing from where he was, absolutely stunning again, just like he finished off last winter, and he caught £14 as well. So we've got a steady start, you know. It could have been much worse. So we are, out of the 30 pairs, we are in 10th. So they're paying out the top 10 in that league, so we are in 10th at the moment. But as you can imagine, with those weight affairs, you know, £2 or £3 could knock you up 4 or 5 places. It's incredible how close it is. So that league is underway. So, you know, that is pretty much signals the start of winter for us, really. The first rounds of the winter leagues. But, you know, it's going to be an interesting winter. You know, obviously all crops a completely different style of fishing from the leagues that I'm fishing here, and I have already started filming a lot more live matches as well. And so, you know, it's going to be a very varied winter for you, and I know lots of you like the live matches, and that's something that I'm investing heavily in for you. I know that's what you enjoy, as well as some session videos and some other things as well. So it's looking set to be a great December. We have got quite a few matches already in. I've got some extra matches to book in and film for you in the lead and the run up to Christmas. But it's been another bit of a blur this year. Again, it's been very, very hectic, and I am going to be making some changes next year, where I will be investing a lot more in this channel, and there are other projects that we're working on as well. But it's the sun's just gone behind the clouds. I've got more filming to do now. One of the projects I'm working on today is our new cage feeder masterclass online course that I'm frantically putting together for you. The courses have been hugely popular. Thank you to everybody who have enrolled on our online courses, and thanks for all the great messages that have said, you know, how much they've helped you improve your fishing. This one, as the name suggests, is all about cage feeder winter fishing. Which is, you know, it's a massive part of winter fishing, you know, being able to fish with a conventional feeder, fishing for silverfish, but we do it for carp as well, and that's what I've almost finished filming now for you. If you are interested in that course, it is available now with a 20% discount if you pre-order it. I'll put a link beneath this video for you, and that will be getting released very, very soon. But like I say, if you are interested, there's a 20% pre-order discount that you can get if you want to enroll on it now. But it's, you know, it's been one of those projects that I enjoy, because it's not all about fancy drone footage, it's not about nice music, it's just the hardcore based facts about the key things that help us in our fishing, you know, and it's just designed to fast track your learning, you know, to get your learning curve as steep as that, you know, with all the key bits, and all the videos are downloadable as well, you know, so if you do want to save them to your own device, your PC, your laptop, whatever, then you can do that, you know, they're yours to keep. But yeah, it looks like we're going to get a bit of rain coming, but no, this has just been a bit of a check-in with you. Hopefully some of you have just enjoyed just kind of listening to what we've been up to and listening to what we've got coming up. And if you do want to continue with these podcasts and things, then please give this one a thumbs up or let me know in the comments. But it's just been a check-in for you. I'm going to have a cup of coffee before I lose my voice. The next few matches are going to be very interesting. I've got some different venues that I'm filming on for you as well. And there's a couple of other series that I want to that I'm going to be releasing out for you as well right here on YouTube. So thanks for the check-in, everybody. Really appreciate all the great messages, and thank you again for another fantastic year right here on YouTube on the Catch Fishing channel. And if you do want to see any other topics, any other features, any other venues, any other style films, then please let me know in the comments, because I only want to create content and videos and productions that you want to see. So thanks for watching and listening, everybody, and I'll check in with you real soon.